advertise that. Okay. All right, we'll call the Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting of Thursday, October the 14th, 2021 to order. Ms. Ragsdale, could I have a roll call?
Mr. Craddock?
Here.
Ms. Deering?
Here.
Mr. Yeaman?
Here.
Mr. Brumfield?
Here.
Mr. Stone?
Here.
Mr. Merricks?
Here.
Mr. Easley?
Here. Thank you, ma'am. If y'all would, please join us in a moment of silence so we can ask for guidance as we go through this important meeting. Thank you. Do I hear a motion that we approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Do we need to vote on that on the screen? And I'm not seeing anything. All right, we've got to move them. Mr. Merricks, we've got a
I'm trying to move it.
second.
Oh.
I don't know why this thing doesn't work. I'm not seeing a yes anywhere.
Well, on here it says you seconded.
Well, I'll keep hitting it.
That means you can't see it.
I'm going to end the vote. How about that? There we go. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Very good. The minutes in your packet are from the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting of August the 9th, 2021. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I move they be approved.
All right, Mr. Stone has moved. Let's see,
I'll second.
you've seconded. We've got a motion and a second that we accept the minutes as written. Please vote.
Sorry about that.
Yes, but it's not coming up.
Have you voted? There you go.
All right, motion's carried. Thank you. Old business.
I don't have any old business.
Okay. Any new business?
Yes, we will have cases next month, and I don't have the number with me, but we will have a meeting next month.
And that date will be,
That is November 8th.
November 8th. Okay, thank you. And before we go any further, on behalf of the Board of Zoning Appeals, I'd like to apologize to the case that we did not have a quorum for last month. I think I've been on the Board of Zoning Appeals for 25 years, and that's the first time in my recollection that we've not had enough folks here to hold a meeting. So we'll try to do better as we go forward. That's my chairman's report. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to Article 5, Division 7 of the Pittsylvania County Zoning Ordinance, we, the Board of Zoning Appeals, have been empowered to hear and decide specific applications and appeals in support of said ordinance. In accomplishing this important task, we are charged with promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of Pittsylvania County. We must ensure that all our decisions and recommendations be directed to these goals and that each be consistent with the environment, the comprehensive plan, and in the best interest of Pittsylvania County, its citizens, and its posterity. Anyone here to speak to the board other than the applicant regarding zoning cases will be limited to 3 minutes. Ms. Ragsdale. All right, we will now open, let me get over to case S-21-009, Michael and Cynthia Flanagan.
Case S-21-009, Michael and Cynthia Flanagan have petitioned for a special use permit on 2 acres located at 1415 W.I. Powell Road in the Chatham Blair's election district for sale, service, and repair of automobiles public garage. The Planning Commission recommended by an 8-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted with the conditions recommended by staff. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Mike Flanagan is here to represent the petition.
Mr. Flanagan, do you have anything you'd like to say to the board? All right, sir. Okay. We may have some in a moment. Okay. No one signed up to speak on the case. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak regarding the case? All right, hearing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:05, excuse me. 7:05, okay. Got my timekeeper up here. Okay. Very good. Comments?
Mr. Chairman, I visited the site yesterday, and it seemed to be feasible to me. It looked like he had adequate things that he was going to do, and I would be glad to make a motion to approve the request.
The staff has recommended they have recommended approval of the special use permit with 3 conditions. And these 3 conditions are: this property shall not be used for the sale of automobiles. Repair activities shall be contained within an enclosed structure. An operable vehicle shall not be stored on the property for longer than 2 weeks and must be stored in an area screened in accordance with Pittsylvania County 35-121. Are there any other conditions that we feel would be appropriate to apply to this?
I don't think so.
Mr. Flanagan, if we approve the special use permit, would you be in agreement with these 3 conditions? Okay. So it sounds like we're looking for a positive motion. I'll read a positive motion. Whereas Michael and Cynthia Flanagan have petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit for the sale, service, and repair of automobiles / public garage. And whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance. And whereas there are no significant adverse effects upon adjacent property that cannot be mitigated through conditions, I move the special use permit be granted with the following conditions. This property shall not be used for the sale of automobiles. Repair activities shall be contained within an enclosed structure. An operable vehicle shall not be stored on the property for longer than 2 weeks and must be stored in an area screened in accordance with PCC 35-121.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say, for consistency, should the word sale come out of the beginning of that, since we're taking it out in the condition?
That's how it's listed in the zoning ordinance. So the actual use out of the zoning ordinance says sale, service, and repair. So that's why it's listed the same way, and that's why staff included that condition that it would not be used for the sale. So we would condition away that use, but we can't remove that because that's how it is specifically listed in the ordinance.
All right. We've got a motion, excuse me, by Mr. Stone. We've got a second by Carl Yeaman. All those in favor of the motion, make it known by voting. All right, motion's carried. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming out twice. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you all. All right, we will now, excuse me, the time is 7:09. We will open public hearing, case S-21-001, Roger and Deborah Emerson. Ms. Ragsdale.
Case S-21-010, Roger and Deborah Emerson, doing business as Despot LLC, has petitioned for a special use permit on 5.67 acres located at 4953 Whitmore School Road in the Chatham Blairs Election District for a private club. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, the Planning Commission recommended that the special use permit be granted by a 7-0 vote with the conditions recommended by staff. And Christy Watkins is here to represent this petition. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not Christy.
I'm sorry, sir. Step up
Can
to
you-
the microphone so we can, if you would, state your name.
My name is James Smith, actually president of the Spot LLC.
All right, sir. Thank you for coming out, Mr. Smith. Do you have anything to say in support of your petition?
Oh, actually, I've talked to Roger and his wife today. Actually tried to catch them earlier, but they had a funeral to go to. They have paper to sign and notarize, so I hadn't got that with me today, but I will get it to you soon as they get it done to me.
All right, sir. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Smith? All right, so thank you. We may have a few after we close the hearing. No one is signed up from the public to speak for or against the case. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
It's 7:11.
All right, we'll close the public hearing at 7:11. Comments? Let me, before we go any further, let me read the recommendations that the board staff, or the staff has recommended that the approval of the special use permit with the following conditions. Any outdoor club events or outdoor music must end by 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and by midnight, 12 a.m. Friday through Sunday. Must remain in compliance with the Pittsylvania County noise ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, I visited the site yesterday, and I was just wondering, it looked like they'd been having events there or location there and for a good while. You happen to know how long they had been at that location?
7 years. So,
Thank you.
comments, questions?
Positive motion.
Mr. Merckx has recommended a positive motion. Mr. Smith, if we go with a positive motion, if we approve a positive motion, could your club go along with the two conditions that have been presented? All right, we've got a positive motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we've got Ronald Merck's positive motion, second made by Herschel Stone. All right, then I'll read a positive motion for the special use permit. Whereas William and Deborah Emerson, doing business as Despot LLC, have petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit for a private club, and whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance, and whereas there are no significant adverse effects upon adjacent property that cannot be mitigated through conditions, I move the special use permit be granted with the following conditions. Any outdoor club events or outdoor music must end by 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and by midnight, 12 a.m. Friday through Sunday, and the group must remain in compliance with the Pittsylvania County noise ordinance. Is that your motion, Mr. Merckx?
Yep, already moved.
All right, all those in favor, make it known by voting yes. All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you all for coming out. is 7:15. We will open case S-21-01-011, David Roach. Ms. Ragsdale?
Case S-21-011, David Roach has petitioned for a special use permit on 2.5 acres located on State Road 822 Beverly Heights Road in the Bannister Election District to allow for the placement of a single-wide mobile home. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. The Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote that the special use permit be granted. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Roach is here to represent the petition.
Mr. Roach? Have anything you'd like to say in support of your request? Okay. All right. Is there anyone, no one signed up, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak in regard to this case? All right, then we will close the public hearing at 7:16. Comments? I looked at this piece of property, and it's in keeping with the general area there on Beverly Heights.
Move for positive motion.
All right, all right, we've got a move and a second for a positive motion. I'll read the special use permit, or application, or positive motion rather. Whereas David Roach has petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for special use for a single-wide mobile home, and whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance, and whereas there are no significant adverse effects upon adjacent property that cannot be mitigated through conditions, I move the special use be granted. Mr. Yeaman made the motion. Ms. Deering, second. All those in favor, make it known by voting. All right, Mr. Roach, passed unanimously. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming out. All right, the time is 7:18. We will open the public hearing on case S-21-013, Mount Hermon Volunteer Fire and Rescue Incorporated. Ms. Ragsdale?
Case S-21-013, Mount Hermon Volunteer Fire and Rescue has petitioned for a special use permit on 3.45 acres located at 4268 Franklin Turnpike in the Chatham Blair's Election District for a cell tower. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. The Planning Commission recommended by 6-2, was it 6-2 vote or 6-0?
Well, it was 6-2, one was absent and one abstained.
Oh, so it was a 6-0 vote. One was absent, one abstained. With no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted with conditions. There were no conditions, sorry. We're going to get this right. So they recommended that it be granted, but there was opposition. And Kelly Young is here to represent this petition.
All right. Mrs. Young?
How are you?
How are you?
Good.
Would you state your name, please? I'm sorry, I missed your name.
It's Kelly Young.
Kelly Young?
Young.
Okay, thank you.
Y-O-U-N-G. And I'm here as an authorized agent for Parallel Infrastructure, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have on this application.
The height of the tower will be
260 feet
260 feet.
with the lightning rod, 266.
Tell us a little bit why the tower is needed there.
The tower is needed there for several reasons. By putting a tower that large at that location, it's going to enhance the coverage, because my understanding from the fire department is the current area where the tower is located, they have some drop zones. So this will increase the, coverage for them, as well as, enhance AT&T, who is the anchor tenant for this, will increase their network and their 5G and all of the advanced wireless networks that's going to be coming out shortly.
Because it's coming quick. Any other questions for the applicant?
In relation to the fire station, where is it located exactly? In relation to where the fire station is it behind it, beside it?
You mean on the plans?
Yes.
It's going to be behind it. So it's where the wooded area is?
Any more questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. We may have a few more after we have a discussion. Ed, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. I'll let you do it for us.
Probably a handwriting problem, Mr. Chairman. Donahue.
Your last name, sir?
Donahue, D-O-N-O-H-U.
Donahue, very good, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so Mr. Donahue?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I know I've only got a couple minutes, so I did give you some letters, some material to look at. I hope those have been circulated. If not, I brought copies with me this evening. There's really just a couple things I wanted you to focus on. One, we represent the tower owner. Existing site is about 660 feet away from the proposed location. That tower is going to remain. So what's being proposed here is a redundant site. In as much as it exceeds 200 feet, it's also going to be lit. The site that my client has is 190 feet, and so lighting is not required. When originally proposed, SBA, the owner of the existing tower, proposed a tower at 260 feet. But due to neighbor opposition and concerns about light, ambient light being a problem, we reduced that height. But AT&T is on the site with SBA, and should they move, that tower is going to remain for T-Mobile and Natellos. So you're really talking about two sites. Redundant, I think, is the word I'd use. Number two, FirstNet gets talked about an awful lot. It's a very important program. AT&T is building the FirstNet program throughout the country. FirstNet is on the SBA tower today. So if it's an important site for FirstNet, for first responders, fire, police, et cetera, FirstNet is already operational at the SBA site. We looked at the coverage. At the existing site, we looked at the coverage with a height increase. We ran our site at 250 feet. We did a propagation. We used the RF engineers at several different signal strengths, and those are the maps that I've given you. And if they didn't come through in color, I did bring copies. It indicates that there's no improvement in coverage to move AT&T over from the SBA site to the fire station. Let me say that again. There's no improvement. Should AT&T feel it really needs the additional height, the SBA tower could be increased. We could move that tower up to 250 feet, but we don't think there's a discernible difference in what AT&T is getting. I think it really comes down to AT&T wants a lease negotiation. They want to spend less on their rent, and I understand that. But in terms of coverage, in terms of redundancy, and in terms of FirstNet, all of those things are provided for them on the SBA site. I've given you two letters that I want to call to your attention. One was from back in September, and that was Elaine Tarkington from SBA, and she explained that both 5G and FirstNet are available. FirstNet is on the tower. 5G is available to AT&T. In other words, there's structural integrity on that tower to allow AT&T to put 5G on the tower. The second is from Jason Lasky, dated yesterday, and he went on to explain information for you about lease negotiations between SBA and AT&T. This is a land use case, and I think that probably the most important thing to know is that this is a redundant site, and again, a site that's going to require lighting because it's in excess of 200 feet. Did I get inside of 3 minutes?
Any questions for Mr. Donahue?
Other than being redundant, what's the problem with putting another tower?
Well, the problem for the community is it's going to have a second tower, so there's visual impact, and this one is lit.
But, I mean, as far as operation of the existing tower, everything would be the same?
Everything would be the same.
Okay.
The coverage obtainable for AT&T is no better, according to the RF engineers from our company.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. No one else has signed up to speak. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board?
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Deering, and gentlemen, H.F. Haymore, Chairman of the Board of Mount Hermon Fire and Rescue, and I'm here tonight to ask you all to approve this zoning. We think it's going to enhance our operation. All of you familiar with what's going on with diversion. We've had to carry at least 5 patients to Moorhead Hospital down in Eden, North Carolina. We need this. We think it'll be an enhancement. This gentleman is talking about the tower that's there. If I remember correctly, there was a statute of limitation on what height that tower could be because it was so close to the subdivision there at Ridgecrest. So let me just give you an example of within the last 10 days, a lady hit a deer the other morning about 3 o'clock just above the station. Could not get any telephone service at all. Some gentleman finally came by about 30 minutes later and had to drive down below Rubens on 41. There's a dead spot between Rubens Restaurant or Hughes's home is a better location, I guess, all the way to Pleasant Gap at Martin's old shop up there. We think it'll be an enhancement for that area, and we think it'll be an enhancement for the citizens that travel the Franklin Turnpike and certainly the Mount Hermon community. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Haymore. Anyone else from the public to speak? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make sure you also knew that the existing tower that Mr. Donahue was speaking about will not continue going forward in the future to meet the needs of AT&T. AT&T, yes, has a co-location agreement with SBA, but SBA has made it difficult for AT&T to maintain its facilities there with logistical upgrades as well as the cost at this point, which is astronomical. And every time they go in for an upgrade, you know, the price keeps increasing. So at this point, it is more feasible to have a new tower, which is why we're proposing, you know, the new tower. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board. My name is Stephen Howard. That's Stephen with a PH. With AT&T, I just want to add on to what Kelly was saying. So, and I'm not privy to the letter that Mr. Donahue spoke about regarding the negotiations between AT&T and SBA. But currently, and for quite some time, the master lease agreement that governed the negotiations of the lease rates between AT&T and SBA has been expired. AT&T has tried to enter into a new master lease agreement. We've had success in doing so with other major tower companies like American Tower and Crown. SBA remains the lone big 3 holdout. So for significant economic benefits, that's why we're supportive of and intending to remove our equipment from the SBA tower onto this new tower.
Thanks, sir. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? All right. Any more questions for the applicant? All right, we'll close the case at 7:29. Historically, the Board of Zoning Appeals has made every effort to support fire and rescue squad, public services. I say that just for information.
Mr. Chairman, if you will, my office is in the zone that Mr. Haymore speaks of, and I can attest that they're inside my office area. I do not have service for my cell phone. And so anything that would improve it, I do not know what this would make, what would happen, but I would just mention that and be supportive of the motion.
Any other comments?
Well, I live within the Mount Hermon community also, and I think that anytime we can, it would benefit the fire department financially from the rent of this tower, so I would be in favor of it.
And certainly the support of the community and the safety of the area.
I agree. Sounds like to me if the tower is not built, then AT&T is going to leave the existing tower anyway because it can't get along.
They're
So
gonna find one
I
somewhere
say,
else.
go for it. Tell it like it is.
So it sounds like we would like a positive motion. Do I hear a motion? Mr. Yeaman has made the motion.
Second.
We've got a second. I'll read the positive motion for the special use. Whereas Mount Hermon Volunteer Fire and Rescue Incorporated has petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit for a, a cell tower, and whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance, and whereas there are no significant adverse effects upon adjacent property that cannot be mitigated through conditions, I move the special use be granted. We've got a motion by Mr. Yeaman and a second by Mr. Stone. All those in favor, make it known. We got a unanimous yes decision. Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate you. Yeah. We will close the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting at